Meanwhile, Trump will be in the legal spotlight tomorrow. He's set to take the stand in his New York fraud trial. For more, we're joined by Joseph Moreno. He's a former U.S. federal prosecutor, and he joins us from New York. Joseph, the ex-president is facing a number of different cases. There's the election interference case, the classified documents case, the hush money case, and others. Can you tell us a little bit about this one and what's at the heart of it?
Sure. Good morning, Stephanie. Well, I think it's understandable that most people's attention is on the 4 different criminal trials that Donald Trump is facing because of the potential penalties and the impact on the election next year. But this civil case in New York City is extremely important because it goes to the heart of the Trump family's finances. It basically alleges that the Trump organization, run by Donald Trump and his sons and others, engaged in a pattern of providing inaccurate financial information to banks and insurance companies in transactions they engaged with there. And if found liable on all of these counts, the Trump organization could effectively be dissolved. They could face a significant financial fine of $250 million. And basically, the organization could be ended in New York, the real estate spun off, and they'd be prevented from doing business going further. So while Donald Trump understandably is taking the criminal cases very seriously, this goes to basically the entire finances of the family. And that's why he'll be sitting in court tomorrow morning.
And what are you expecting to see there? What do you expect to see from Donald Trump tomorrow as he takes the witness box under oath?
So fortunately or unfortunately, New York State doesn't allow cameras in the courtroom. But I have to surmise, based on the kinds of things he says to the media when he kind of steps out of the court periodically, I think he'll focus on 3 things. He's going to say, 1, there's no evidence that he meant to defraud anyone because all of these transactions with banks and insurance companies were paid. He paid off these loans. He paid his premiums, and therefore he didn't defraud anybody. 2, I think he'll say, there's no victims here. Nobody lost a penny on these transactions. So why would you come in and destroy my family business, which has been around for 50 years? And 3rd, I think he'll say this is a vindictive prosecution by the New York Attorney General, that she campaigned on going after Donald Trump. She was elected, and sure enough, she went after Donald Trump. I think he'll make those 3 points on the stand. They could be good points as far as, resonating with voters. But they're not going to help him very much. None of those are good legal arguments at this point for him. The law being used doesn't need to show fraud. It doesn't need to show a victim. And as far as selective prosecution, he's already tried that and lost that argument. So at this point, it's not looking good for Donald Trump. But I think he realizes that. And therefore, he's taking it really seriously.
Okay, taking it seriously, can you tell us more about what the risks might be for him as he testifies?
So remember, going into this, there are 7 causes of action, or basically we call them charges on the criminal side. Donald Trump has already been found to be liable for the first one, right? The judge, before the trial even began, said there's sufficient evidence to show that you are liable. So he's going into this trial already having significant exposure. Now he's facing trial on the other 6 causes of action. And basically he's already lost. And now the Attorney General can basically just kind of run up the score in terms of the damages he's facing. If in fact he's found liable for any or all of the remaining 6, he's looking at what they call disgorgement. She's basically going after all the profits the Trump organization has made in the last decade or so. That's about $250 million. In addition, he'll be subject to a receiver, basically someone who's put in place to wind down the business. And he'll be prevented from doing business in New York going forward. So he can still operate in Illinois or Florida or other locations. Scotland, I think he has a golf course there. But in New York, which is really where the iconic Trump brand has stood for 5 decades, that'll be all over.
Let's talk about Trump's sons. Eric and Donald Jr. both testified this week. Do you think they help or hinder the case?
I think it was a wash. I mean, again, we don't know exactly what they testified to, but based on their statements to the media, I think they made some variation of those 3 points I just outlined. I thought it was interesting that Eric Trump apparently distanced himself from these accounting records a bit, where basically he said, yeah, I wasn't exactly personally involved in preparing those financial statements that contain these irregularities. So I think a little distancing himself from perhaps liability. But the fact is, this hits the entire organization. It's a family-owned business. It's not a public company, and it affects all of them. And I mean, $250 billion. I mean, even for someone who's worth perhaps, I'm sorry, $250 million. For someone who's worth a billion or more, that's still a lot of money. I mean, that's enough to put the business out of business.
Oh, for sure. And Trump's daughter, Ivanka, also scheduled to appear in court on Wednesday. Do we know when this trial will wrap up, and what kind of judgment are you expecting?
So at this pace, I think we're looking about 2 or 3 months, probably closer to 2 months, because a lot of it's already been decided. And then at that point, you're looking at another couple of months for damages to be calculated and put into place. So I think it's a relatively short amount of time between now and the end of the year. You'll see this wrap up just in time for the Republican primaries and the start of Trump's criminal trials. I think his play really is on appeal. I think he kind of realizes it's a lost cause here, which is kind of why he's acting out the way he is and antagonizing the judge. I think he realizes that it's a lost cause and that if he has any chance to reverse this, it will be on the 2 levels of appeals that New York State will provide him. And that will go on for years.
Years. Okay. Lots to watch for. That's former federal prosecutor Joseph Moreno. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Stephanie.